INFJs, though deeply empathetic and emotionally attuned, have a quiet inner strength that allows them to be very efficient at handling narcissists without becoming overwhelmed. At their core, INFJs are guided by intuition and an internal moral compass that give them a profound sense of what feels right and what doesn't. This instinct is their greatest protection. When dealing with a narcissist, they may not initially recognize the manipulation in logical terms, but they feel something is off. That internal nudge grows louder the more the narcissist tries to dominate, deceive, or emotionally exploit them. At first, the INFJ might attempt to respond with understanding. They'll try to reason with the narcissist, interpret their behavior as woundedness, or look for the hidden pain behind the arrogance. This is a natural response for INFJs, who often see emotional patterns beneath the surface. But with time, they begin to sense the emotional imbalance. They notice that no matter how much empathy they offer, the narcissist never reciprocates. The dynamic becomes draining, and slowly, the INFJ begins to disengage. If you're an INFJ craving clarity and a deeper connection with your true self, ensure to grab our free INFJ Clarity Kit. Inside, you'll find guided journal prompts, a workbook, and everything you need to reconnect with your true self. It's free and made just for you. Click the first link in the description of this video to get yours and start your clarity journey today. The beauty of how INFJs handle narcissists lies in their quiet, strategic detachment. They don't always fight back with confrontation. Instead, they protect their peace through boundaries. They stop explaining themselves. They reduce emotional availability. They retreat into their inner world, a place where the narcissist can't reach or influence them. INFJs are naturally introspective, and they use that to their advantage. They take time to reflect, analyze the situation, and understand how to shift the power dynamic without causing unnecessary drama or losing themselves in emotional chaos. As soon as an INFJ stops needing validation from the narcissist, they take away the narcissist's control. The INFJ's refusal to feed the ego-driven hunger of the narcissist becomes their shield, and they do this not through manipulation, but through emotional discipline. Instead of reacting to provocations, they respond with calm awareness. This emotional stillness confuses narcissists. Narcissists thrive on emotional volatility and attention, but INFJs starve them of both by simply not engaging at that level. Even more powerful is the INFJ's ability to shift their focus inward. Instead of stressing out or getting trapped in cycles of self-doubt, they return to their purpose, their inner calling, their values. They remember who they are and why they cannot allow themselves to be entangled with someone who lacks emotional accountability. They lean into solitude, creativity, spirituality, or meaningful work, anything that recenters them and reminds them of their strength. INFJs also use their natural ability to observe without judgment. They begin to study the narcissist like a puzzle, not out of obsession, but from a place of emotional curiosity. They realize the narcissist's behavior is not a reflection of their own worth, but of the narcissist's deep-rooted insecurity. And this realization brings a powerful shift. The narcissist no longer feels threatening. They feel small, predictable, and emotionally immature. This shift in perception allows the INFJ to move through the situation with grace rather than fear. Eventually, the INFJ quietly reclaims their energy. They don't need to win an argument or expose the narcissist. They don't need an apology. They simply reclaim their peace, walk away emotionally lighter, and learn from the experience. And because INFJs process everything deeply, they integrate the lesson into their personal growth. They emerge stronger, more discerning, and more confident in their boundaries. What truly sets INFJs apart is their refusal to let the toxicity of a narcissist change who they are at the core. Instead of reacting with bitterness or becoming emotionally hardened, they evolve with even more depth, empathy, and wisdom. They protect their energy, guard their heart, and walk away with their integrity intact, handling the narcissist not with stress or chaos, but with clarity and quiet strength. This inner strength is what often surprises people about INFJs. While they may appear soft-spoken or sensitive, there's a core within them that's unshakable once awakened. Their ability to feel deeply does not mean they are fragile. It means they are connected. And when that connection is turned inward, it becomes a force of resilience. INFJs do not need to control a narcissist, expose them, or fight for justice on the surface. Instead, they focus on healing themselves. They learn what patterns in them allowed the narcissist into their life in the first place, and they break those patterns, not with resentment, but with intention. One of the INFJ's most subtle yet powerful gifts is their capacity for foresight. They often sense where a relationship is heading long before others do. This allows them to emotionally prepare and begin the withdrawal process long before they physically step away. Their exits are rarely loud or impulsive. Instead, they are methodical and final. The INFJ observes, prepares, detaches, and then walks, without leaving behind pieces of themselves. During this process, INFJs rarely lose sleep over proving a point. They understand that narcissists operate in denial and projection, and no amount of truth-telling can pierce that armor unless the narcissist is ready to change, which, in most cases, they are not. INFJs conserve their energy by refusing to engage in ego battles. They choose their peace over being right. This restraint isn't weakness, it's mastery. Another reason INFJs are able to navigate narcissistic dynamics without crumbling is their spiritual perspective. Many INFJs view their life experiences through the lens of soul growth and deeper meaning. When they encounter a narcissist, they may initially be wounded, but in time they begin to see the encounter as a lesson, a mirror showing them what they must strengthen within themselves. This higher perspective protects them from becoming cynical or bitter. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" they ask, "What is this here to teach me?" And that question leads them to transformation, not trauma. The INFJ's solitude is sacred. After leaving a narcissist behind, they don't rush to fill the void. They retreat, rebuild, and reflect. In this space of quiet, they reconnect with their intuition, their dreams, and their purpose. They begin to shine again, not in rebellion, but in remembrance of who they truly are. And once that light is rekindled, it cannot be dimmed by anyone, especially not by someone as emotionally shallow as a narcissist. The most graceful part of how INFJs handle narcissists is that they don't carry the experience like a badge of bitterness. They don't let it define them. They integrate the pain, draw wisdom from it, and let it make them more whole. They become even more compassionate, not less. More discerning, not more guarded. They learn to love themselves the way they try to love the narcissist. And in doing so, they become emotionally untouchable. INFJs don't defeat narcissists through aggression. They don't win by playing the same games. They rise above, operating from a different frequency entirely, one that values truth, peace, depth, and authenticity. Narcissists are noise. INFJs are signal. And when the signal becomes clear, there's no more room for chaos. Only clarity, healing, and the quiet strength of someone who finally sees everything for what it truly is and walks away, unstressed. Even in the midst of emotional manipulation, INFJs maintain a secret power, their emotional independence. Though they are deeply relational and often give generously of their time, energy, and heart, they're not dependent on others to define who they are. At their core, INFJs are self-reflective. They spend time thinking, journaling, analyzing, constantly tuning into their inner truth. This inner dialogue becomes their compass, especially when dealing with someone who tries to distort reality. Narcissists thrive on gaslighting, twisting facts, denying behaviors, and projecting blame to confuse and control. But INFJs, even if momentarily shaken, always return to themselves. They may question their perceptions briefly, but their need for authenticity eventually overrides the confusion. They begin to write things down, replay conversations, and spot patterns. They start connecting the dots in silence, while the narcissist remains unaware that their manipulation is losing its grip. INFJs don't need to confront every lie or win every argument. They only need clarity, and once they gain it, everything changes. Another subtle superpower of the INFJ is their ability to create emotional distance without announcing it. While other types might explode or argue, INFJs tend to shift their energy inward. The narcissist may not even realize at first that the INFJ is gone emotionally, because outwardly, the INFJ may still be polite, calm, or even soft-spoken. But inside, the INFJ has already closed the door. They've seen enough. They've felt enough. And now, they're reclaiming their emotional sovereignty. It's not an escape. It's a conscious decision to stop feeding a dynamic that costs too much. INFJs also have a strong sense of justice and fairness. Though they dislike conflict, they cannot stand hypocrisy or cruelty. This internal value system acts as a silent but firm boundary. Once they realize the narcissist is harming others, not just themselves, the INFJ's protective instincts kick in. They begin to see the narcissist not as someone to be saved, but as someone to be limited. The INFJ may never shout or attack, but they will quietly ensure that the narcissist no longer has access to their emotional world. That quiet resistance is more powerful than any confrontation. When an INFJ finally removes themselves from a narcissist's orbit, they don't linger. They don't stalk social media or obsess over closure. They trust that their truth is enough. They don't need apologies from someone who doesn't take responsibility. What they need and give themselves is peace. They redirect their focus to healing, reflection, and creative expression. Their journals fill with insight. Their boundaries become sacred, and their intuition becomes sharper than ever before. Interestingly, many INFJs come to thank the experience, not for the pain, but for the awakening. The narcissist, in all their chaos, serves as a catalyst for the INFJ to grow stronger, clearer, and more rooted in their truth. The INFJ begins to understand their own worth not through someone else's eyes, but through the lens of survival, recovery, and self-acceptance. They emerge with a deeper understanding of what they will never again tolerate, and a stronger devotion to living a life of emotional clarity. Long after the narcissist has moved on to their next target, trying to recreate the control they once had, the INFJ is thriving in quiet ways. They may not brag, they may not seek revenge, but their growth speaks for itself. They are wiser, more discerning, more whole. Their energy becomes a fortress. Narcissists, who prey on confusion and weakness, can no longer find a crack in the INFJ's armor. Not because the INFJ has become cold, but because they become grounded. INFJs handle narcissists not by overpowering them, but by transcending them. They rise out of the emotional games and return to the only thing that ever truly matters, their truth. And in that truth, they find peace, not just from the narcissist, but from every self-doubt and fear that once made the narcissist seem powerful. The INFJ learns that clarity is the greatest protection, and silence, the greatest statement. They leave with grace, strength, and an unshakable sense of who they are, and they never go back. What truly sets the INFJ apart in their ability to handle narcissists without stress is their relationship with solitude. Unlike many other personality types, INFJs crave alone time, not just for rest, but for healing, understanding, and recalibration. When a narcissist tries to entangle them in emotional chaos, the INFJ instinctively retreats, not in weakness, but in preservation. That solitude becomes a sacred space where the INFJ can step away from the noise and return to clarity. And within that space, something powerful happens. The fog of manipulation begins to lift. This is where the INFJ begins to see clearly, not only the narcissist patterns, but their own. They ask themselves deep questions. Why did I allow this energy in? What within me needs to be healed? What boundaries did I ignore in the name of compassion? These questions are not asked with shame, but with honesty. And because INFJs are relentless in their pursuit of inner truth, they don't stop until they've found real answers. That self-inquiry creates a level of insight that narcissists cannot access or even understand. It's like the INFJ is playing chess on a board the narcissist doesn't know exists. What makes INFJs even more emotionally untouchable is their long memory and sharp pattern recognition. Once they've seen a behavior repeat itself, they catalog it. They internalize the lesson, and they remember. They don't need to be hurt over and over again to finally get the message. 1 or 2 revelations are often enough. And from that moment on, their energy toward the narcissist shifts. There is no longer hope that things will change. There is only the calm decision to remove themselves from the dynamic. But INFJs don't need to slam the door to do this. They are masters of subtle detachment. Their tone becomes neutral. Their responses become brief. They stop feeding the emotional loop the narcissist depends on. The narcissist may sense the change, but they can't stop it because they've lost the INFJ's heart. And once that's gone, the connection is already dead. INFJs don't perform their exits. They simply disappear from the narcissist game. This doesn't mean INFJs don't feel pain or grief after separating from a toxic relationship. They feel everything, deeply. But the difference is that they process the pain instead of running from it. INFJs are not afraid to sit with uncomfortable emotions. They'll cry, write, meditate, and reflect until the experience becomes wisdom. They do the inner work. And because of that, their healing is not superficial. It's transformative. They don't just move on. They evolve. The INFJ doesn't seek revenge or validation. They don't need to prove the narcissist wrong or expose them to the world. Their healing speaks for itself. Their energy changes. Their life changes. And while the narcissist continues to repeat the same cycles with new targets, the INFJ has risen above, building a reality where truth, depth, and emotional safety are the standard, not the exception. A narcissist's greatest weapon is control. Control through confusion, praise followed by punishment, promises never fulfilled, and constant shifting of blame. But INFJs are seekers of truth. Even when confused on the surface, they have an inner compass that keeps pulling them toward clarity. It may take time. It may take nights of journaling, meditating, or quiet reflection. But once the INFJ's clarity arrives, it becomes immovable. Unlike personality types that seek external validation or retaliation, INFJs withdraw into their inner world. And that inner world is where the narcissist loses all power. INFJs do not need confrontation to break free. They don't need an audience. They reclaim their energy in silence. The narcissist, who once believed they had emotional control, suddenly finds themselves talking to a version of the INFJ that no longer responds the same way. The spark is gone. The softness, now shielded. The energy, redirected inward. INFJs don't scream for justice. They embody it. And even more powerful than emotional withdrawal is what comes after, the transformation. INFJs don't just move away from toxicity. They alchemize it. They take the confusion, the hurt, the gaslighting, and transmute it into deep wisdom. They begin to recognize patterns in others and in themselves. They learn to spot red flags before they become emotional disasters. They build new boundaries, not just with narcissists, but with anyone who drains their energy or disrespects their emotional intelligence. Their circle becomes smaller, more sacred. They learn to trust their first instinct because now they understand that their inner knowing was right all along. One of the most beautiful things about INFJs is that they don't lose their softness, even after enduring emotional warfare. They don't allow the narcissist to harden them or shut their heart down. Instead, they become wiser with their love, more intentional with their empathy, more guarded with their energy, not because they're bitter, but because they've learned what's worth pouring into and what isn't. They stop rescuing people who don't want to be rescued. They stop confusing potential with reality. Eventually, INFJs stop explaining themselves. They realize they owe no clarity to someone who deliberately thrives in confusion. They stop waiting for closure from someone incapable of honesty. They stop giving attention to someone who only ever wanted control. And in that quiet withdrawal, they reclaim parts of themselves that were scattered during the relationship. The confidence that was questioned, the intuition that was silenced, the dreams that were shelved. Slowly, piece by piece, they come back to themselves, but stronger, sharper, and more self-loving than ever before. By the time a narcissist realizes what they've lost, it's far too late. The INFJ no longer longs to be understood by them. They no longer hope for redemption. They've outgrown the entire dynamic. And now, when they walk into rooms or relationships, their energy is different. There's a quiet strength in their presence, a peace that cannot be disrupted, a light that no longer dims to make others comfortable. And this is how INFJs handle narcissists without stress, not by overpowering them, not by exposing them, but by liberating themselves, by reclaiming their emotional landscape, by choosing truth over illusion, by allowing themselves to feel everything, but refusing to be consumed by it. That is not just healing. That is power, the kind that cannot be stolen, faked, or manipulated. If you're an INFJ craving clarity and a deeper connection with your true self, ensure to grab our free INFJ Clarity Kit. Inside, you'll find guided journal prompts, a workbook, and everything you need to reconnect with your true self. It's free and made just for you. Click the first link in the description of this video to get yours and start your clarity journey today.